Great guest joining us now over the phone. He won the 1987 Heisman Trophy while at Notre Dame, 9-time Pro Bowl selection with the Oakland Raiders, inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame back in 2015, the great Tim Brown. How are you, Tim?
Things are great, man. I appreciate you guys giving me a couple minutes.
Well, we've officially flipped the calendar now to August, and here we go, right? It's back to football coming off of the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies this past weekend in Canton. It's time to get things back up and running again. Everyone is in training camp, players, coaches getting ready for the 2018 season. What's your take on the league and the message of keeping everyone interested all year round now, obviously, with the fans, the social media, everything that the league does these days to make football 24/7?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what NFL wants it, right? They want you talking about them year round. And with the free agency period and the draft and then training camp starting, you know, you get a couple of weeks break, but it seems like something big in the NFL is always happening. So, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing, obviously. You know, I do believe football is American sport. But so I think from that standpoint, it's all good.
Hey, Tim, how about the Hall of Fame? How happy are you looking forward to some of these guys getting inducted in, particularly like T.O., a guy that wanted to come out, that was been in the media a lot about being at the Hall of Fame, and then now he's not even going to be there. I mean, what's your thoughts on the Hall of Fame in general of being there and T.O. not coming?
Well, you know, T.O. has made a decision, man. His decision is his decision. I think the best thing we can do is allow him to do what he thinks is best for himself. And whatever that is, for whatever reason he's doing it, is what it is. So, you know, he hasn't asked me for my opinion. When he does, I'll gladly give it to him. But until then, I've been telling people, man, I got 4 kids I'm trying to raise. And, you know, that's the most important thing for me. But, you know, look, the Hall of Fame is an incredible opportunity, man, to stand up there and to voice your opinion on what people may have thought of you, and to tell people why this happened, why it didn't happen, and nobody can interrupt you. You know, you get 25, 30 minutes to tell the world how you feel. And I just think that's an incredible opportunity for any player to be able to summarize his career in the way that he wants to summarize it. So from that standpoint, you always look forward to the stories, man. You always hear things that you didn't expect to hear in certain guys, and I think this year will be no different.
What's the best part about Hall of Fame weekend? Something that maybe people watching on TV don't really get to experience. What's maybe the most underrated aspect of it?
Well, you know, I think for me, man, you know, during the enshrinement, during the breaks, we get a chance to go underneath. They have a little break area for us, and that's some special times back there, man, because there's nothing but gold jackets in there. And guys are just sitting there, you know, talking about the speech that just happened, or the guy who's coming up, or, you know, something that, you know, that they want to talk about. And, you know, it's a very special time. And most of the time I'm listening. I'm listening to the older guys talking, especially if Jim Brown is talking. Anytime Jim Brown is talking, I'm trying to listen. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, you know, I tell people the last couple of years they've been doing that, and it's a real special time.
You know, you just mentioned every time Jim Brown, you know, talks, you guys, you pretty much everyone listens. What is one highlight for yourself, a speech that really hit home for you, out of all the experience you have being at the Hall of Fame? What is one particular speech that really hit home for you?
Well, you know, I really think about my year when Charles Haley got up there and really poured his soul out. About, you know, some of the troubles he had and the progress he had made. You know, I think from that standpoint, man, it was really impactful, you know, what he did. So I know it was impactful on me because you hear so many things about Charles Haley, and, you know, when you're around him, he can be the wildest man ever. But for him to settle down and get up there and be able to, you know, say what he said, I think, you know, it's something I always remember, you know what I mean? Because obviously that was my year, and you know, Jerome had a great speech, you know, Napoleon had a great speech, and so, you know, it was a great year.
Hall of Famer Tim Brown joining us on Behind the Mic. Who was most responsible? Who had the biggest impact on your career that helped to get you ultimately enshrined in Canton?
Well, there's no doubt that that's John Gruden. I think when you look at my numbers before he got there, I had pretty decent numbers, but my touchdowns were way low. And because the Raiders had a thing that I couldn't catch a ball, they never called a play for me in the red zone in 8, 9, 10 years. So John thought that was ridiculous. So in his 4 years, I think I had just as many touchdowns as I did in the previous 10 years. So I think that got me on the pace to get to 100 receiving touchdowns. And, I think that's a big benchmark for making the Hall of Fame. So back then anyway it was. So, I think without coming in and stepping up for me and, putting his job on the line, really, I don't think I'll be wearing the gold jacket right now.
I gotta ask you, just we're talking about in terms of Hall of Famers. What about these guys in the league now? These some of these top receivers in the league now. Your thoughts on like Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, these type of players? Do you see them actually getting that gold jacket one day?
Well, I think Odell may have a little work to do, because he's had one great year, a couple great years, but the injury last year, I think. It's going to be very interesting to see if he can. I know he'll come back and play, but how well will you play? Sometimes your injury can heal, but your brain is still telling you don't do this or don't do that. And I went through that my second year in the league after tearing my knee up. So, so it'll be very interesting to see how quickly he gets back to being a dominant player like he was before the major injury. Antonio obviously is putting up crazy numbers. So I think the thing for him is going to be, will the voters adjust what they think is a Hall of Fame receiver now? Will they say, getting 1,000 catches, that's not the bar anymore? Or will they raise that bar for these guys because they're throwing the ball so much and the defenses are so different? I don't know the answer to that, and I could care less. If a guy gets voted in, I'm gonna be right there to welcome him. So, so I think that's going to be the big question, though. Will the voters move the bar up because of the way the NFL is now?
Hall of Famer Tim Brown joining us on the line. Heading into this 2018 season, Tim, what's the biggest problem that the NFL has right now, whether it be off the field stuff, currently maybe on the field with some of the injuries? Your take on one of the biggest problems right now with the game?
Well, look, the biggest issue, unfortunately, has nothing to do with playing football. It's protest deal that the players are, because nobody has a right answer for this. I mean, ask Jerry Jones down here in Dallas. He went out on a limb and said, all my players are going to do this and do that. And he's gotten reamed down here, media from players around the league, from all kinds of outlets, so there's just no way to handle this situation. And I know the league is hoping that it will go away. But I think the players are stronger and stronger in their stance on that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this year plays out. But with the new rule that the NFL has implemented, I think without a doubt it is the most difficult issue that the NFL has dealt with since I've been involved with the NFL. Free agency and all that kind of stuff. Getting African American coaches, jobs in the NFL was a big deal back in the late 80s, early 90s. But this issue, I think, is bigger than any of those issues that we dealt with back in the day.
Is the NFL doing all they can to adequately address concussions and head injuries in the game, while at the same time trying not to overcomplicate some of these new rules they've implemented to keep player safety at the forefront here?
Well, they're trying, but I think obviously they can do more. Sometimes less is more also. You got to understand, when you got guys who are 25, 28, 30 years old who've been hitting folks since they were 8 years old a certain way, trying to get them to change can be a very dangerous proposition. So I think you have to be very careful how drastic these changes are, because now you get players in a position that they're not comfortable in, and that can lead to injuries too. So I think from that standpoint, you got to be careful, man, about what you're doing and how much you're doing, because sometimes too much of a change too much of a good thing can end up being a bad thing.
Hey, Tim, my last question is to you, man. Just life after football, for these guys who or going at the tail end of their career, what are some things? I know you got to have a game plan, but what are some things they could expect going to life after football, and some things like you're doing yourself? What are some things that these guys need to kind of look forward to and get into where they don't self-destruct and don't have a place where they go broke or anything like that of that nature? What should they expect after football?
Well, I always tell people going broke is not the problem. Not having a plan to come out of it is the problem. I think, the best thing that happened to me is when I tore my knee up my second year, the doctors told me that, Tim, maybe your knee is going to last 4 or 5 years and you need to start preparing to leave this game. And that's what I did at 24 years old. I was preparing to leave the game. So I think I don't care if you're a rookie or a 12th year guy, you should be preparing yourself to leave this game. And whatever that means to you, it means to you. If that means starting a business, if that means getting involved with nonprofit stuff, whatever that means, that means. But I think the sooner you do that, the better off you are, because even though I had been preparing for 15 years, when I walked away from the game, it was a very difficult thing. I couldn't figure out why. The first time I saw the Raiders on TV, it freaked me out because I couldn't figure out why I was there. I didn't even play for the Raiders last year. So, but it's a tough thing to go through mentally. And but if you're not prepared for it, then certainly it can be even tougher.
Follow him on Twitter at 81 Tim Brown. Hey, Tim, we really appreciate the time today, man. All the best to you going forward, all the great things you're doing currently right now off the football field, obviously in the community and such. It's definitely being recognized, so we appreciate the time, and we hope to talk to you at some point down the line.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you guys, man.